He sat alone in that cold wooden cabin, his newborn baby crying for milk, and his wife buried just a few feet outside in the snow. For days, the rancher prayed for a miracle, until one stormy night, a stranger knocked on his door, with tears in her eyes and milk still in her breasts. What happened next changed both their lives. Forever, the wind howled across the wide plains of Montana. As the sun dipped behind the hills, inside a small wooden cabin, a man named Thomas sat by the fireplace, his weathered hands trembling, as he tried to feed his newborn daughter a bottle that stayed dry and empty. The baby's cries pierced through the silence like arrows, sharp and desperate. His wife Mary had passed away just a week ago, giving birth. The cabin that once echoed with laughter now felt like a hollow shell, filled only with pain and the echo of loss. Thomas had been a strong man all his life, a rancher, a cowboy, a fighter, but nothing could prepare him for the heartbreak of watching his baby girl cry from hunger and not being able to help. Days turned into nights, and nights into endless hours of helplessness. The snow outside began to fall heavy, and the food in the cabin grew scarce. Thomas tried everything, boiling oats, softening bread, even mixing water with milk powder, but the baby refused it all. Her tiny hands reached out, searching for a comfort that wasn't there. He hadn't slept properly in days. Every time the baby cried, he held her against his chest, whispering prayers to a God he wasn't sure was still listening. "Mary," he whispered one night, looking at the stars through the frosted window. "I don't know if I can do this alone. Please, send me a sign." His voice cracked, and for the first time, the strong rancher broke down and wept. It was past midnight when Thomas heard a soft knock on the wooden door. At first he thought it was the wind, or maybe his tired mind playing tricks. But then it came again, louder this time, clear and real. He grabbed his rifle, cautious and trembling, and opened the door slowly. Standing there, shivering in the cold, was a woman wrapped in a brown shawl. Her face was pale, her eyes full of both fear and kindness. She held her arms close to her chest, and when she spoke, her voice was gentle but desperate. "Please, sir. My horse fell. I've been walking for hours. I just need a place to rest." Thomas hesitated. He was alone with a baby, and strangers weren't always safe in these lands, but something in her eyes told him she wasn't here to harm him. He nodded and stepped aside. "Come in," he said quietly. The woman entered, warming her hands near the fire. She introduced herself as Clara, a widow traveling west in search of work. Her face softened when she saw the baby lying on a makeshift crib beside the fire, crying weakly. "She's hungry," Clara said softly. Thomas nodded, his voice heavy with defeat. "I've tried everything. Her mother's gone. I can't feed her." Clara looked down for a moment, then back at Thomas. I can help," she said, hesitating but firm. "My baby passed away 2 months ago. But I still—" Her voice trailed off as tears welled up. Thomas looked at her, confused for a moment. Then realization hit him. She moved closer to the baby, asking softly, "May I?" Thomas hesitated, his throat tight, then nodded. Clara sat near the fire, cradling the hungry baby in her arms. As she began to feed the child, the cabin filled with a silence unlike any before, a silence of peace. The baby's cries faded into soft whimpers, then quiet sighs. Thomas sat motionless, watching as hope bloomed again in his heart. It was as if Mary had sent this woman from heaven itself. Tears rolled down his cheeks as he whispered, "Thank you, ma'am. You've saved her." Clara smiled faintly through her own tears. "Maybe she's saving me too," she said. Over the next few days, Clara stayed to recover from the cold, and each day she helped Thomas care for the baby, singing lullabies, cooking small meals, and bringing warmth back to the lonely home. Weeks passed, and the snow began to melt. The ranch slowly came back to life. The cattle moved again, the air filled with the sound of hooves and laughter. Clara had planned to leave once the weather cleared, but when the day came, she found herself standing by the gate, unable to walk away. Thomas held the baby in his arms and looked at her with eyes full of gratitude and something deeper, something he hadn't felt since Mary. "You've given us life." "Again," he said quietly. "Stay, Clara, not for me, but for her." Clara's eyes filled with tears as she looked at the little girl, smiling up at her. She nodded slowly. "I'll stay." From that day on, the three of them built a new life together, not bound by blood, but by love, loss, and the miracle that knocked on a rancher's door one cold winter night. And so, in the quiet heart of the Old West, a broken man and a grieving woman found healing in the cry of a hungry baby, proving that sometimes love doesn't ask for permission. It simply arrives when we need it most.